Now, this next one is going to be interesting and a little complicated, so I'm going to try and dissect it as best as we can. But for those that have been listening to the podcast or have been following horror movie news for any length of time, you know that the original screenwriter for the original Friday the 13th, Victor Miller, was suing Sean Cunningham, the director of Friday the 13th, basically saying that, like, hey, I created the first Friday the 13th and I have not gotten any, like, royalties or payments for the franchise that has become one of the biggest horror franchises of all time. Well, he sued Sean Cunningham and won. So Cunningham basically sent an appeal to the court, basically saying, I don't think he was right here. Can we get more or less like a recount type of situation, like an election type of do-over? And in the do-over, once again, Victor Miller was found to be in the right here. Basically, he was a contractor that is owed specific money, or he owns the rights. Where this gets complicated for me, and why people at home should care, there's a multitude of reasons. First of all, and most pressing, is the very interesting fact of the guy that represented Victor Miller in this case. I forget what the man's name is, but the man representing Victor Miller that won the case for Victor Miller is the one that's going to be representing the families of Stan Lee and Steve Ditko in the lawsuit against Marvel. Now, just last week, we talked about Disney will probably win this. To me, this makes things a lot more interesting that this guy, think of it like wrestling or sports. This guy now has momentum on his side. Does the momentum affect things at all? So now Disney I don't think Disney will reconsider, but now Disney may have to reconsider their approach at least. This guy is now coming off a huge win, getting this original script writer basically the rights to the original domestic rights for Friday the 13th. Where does this leave Friday the 13th? Well, now that this has been officially settled in court, parties can kind of move forward to start thinking about more Fridays. Like before, there was, you can't touch it at all, no matter what. Like I remember the Friday the 13th game, which is fun, but still the buggiest game I have ever played. They were working on stability stuff. They were even working on, Josh, this is going to hurt us both. Before the lawsuit started, the very next update that they were going to do was a Jason X update with a map on the space station with a skin of Jason X. I'm going, we were this close! But because of this lawsuit, everything got put on hold, and they couldn't, they legally couldn't do anything. They couldn't put any patches up. The question for me has always been, there's been re-releases of certain Blu-rays in those prevening years since the lawsuit. And I've kind of wondered where that money went or how that was allowed to happen. Like Friday the 13th, like 8-film box set, which was kind of confusing to me. But this means that we can start kind of... There's a light now at the end of the tunnel for more Friday the 13th. Josh does not care about that so much. But I think nowadays people should, because we're getting a lot of horror revitalizations. And whether you like Jason or not, he is an icon of the genre. Look at the wonders that was done by Blumhouse for the Halloween franchise after Rob Zombie basically buried it 6 feet under. They revitalized it and made it what it is now, and it's a really cohesive story. I'm really looking forward to kills and ends. I think the same thing could happen here with Jason. The question that I've always had, though, is, legally speaking, how's this approaching? Because as any horror fan knows, or anybody that's seen Scream knows, so much of the Friday lore is not in the first movie. So, like, if Sean S. Cunningham wants to work around Victor Miller somehow, can he? Or do they still need to kind of come together now?
Well, what's interesting to me, too, is that if Victor Miller wants to, and Victor's been oddly like vocal about how he does not like the idea of sequels, and he adamantly has not ever seen any of them, which I don't know how you can not like something and not see it, but he's so attached to the idea that Jason, the first, Friday the 13th, it was more a story about a mother being driven crazy by her son drowning, and so she goes on a killing spree, right? Like, that's the original story. And to me, I enjoy the first Friday the 13th. I think it's something there's something like really compelling about it. And to Victor's credit, that's absolutely the case. But the problem that he's going to run into is not just if Cunningham wants to do another one, but if Victor wants to do another one and Victor's unwilling to acknowledge the sequels, where do you go? What do you do? Do you rewrite it? You can't really rewrite the first one because everybody already knows the story. So, but then you do a sequel, or do you do a prequel? Like, there's a lot of the issue with the lawsuit is it's put a green light on things, but then muddied the water at the same time.
Yeah, and also, again, he has the domestic rights. So, hypothetically, Sean S. Cunningham could make a Friday the 13th movie and release it overseas, but it wouldn't be able to come to America. And that would still, I think, legally be okay. It just gets really, really complicated. But say Victor Miller, without Cunningham, wants to do a new Friday movie. He could technically have Jason, but he would have to have dead child Jason that drowned in a lake. Like, zombie Jason doesn't come back until 2. He doesn't wear the hockey mask till 3. He doesn't become the zombie until 6. Like, there's so much elements of the character that come in the sequels. And so the core elements that come from the first one are Pamela Voorhees, the name Voorhees, Camp Crystal Lake, and Friday the 13th. Besides that, like, it gets complicated. But I think now that this is finally definitively settled and Cunningham took the L, so to speak, I think as much as he and Miller don't like each other, I'm sure, right now after this whole issue, they're going to have to come to the table, and I think they will, for the betterment of the franchise, because Miller, it's a jigsaw puzzle, basically, of one person has certain pieces and the other person has certain other pieces. You need all the pieces to make a Friday movie. Like, theoretically, you could have Hockey Mask Killer. He just can't be in Camp Crystal Lake, which I say you can absolutely do. Yeah. But it's weird and complicated. But if nothing else, it means now that this is done, we can actually start. It's like when a team fires their GM. Now you can actually start the rebuilding process. You're still going to suck for a little bit, and a new Friday is going to be a long way off. But at least you can start the rebuild phase as opposed to legally being able to not do or say anything at all. Yeah,
which is a big step forward, and as long as you don't stick your foot in your mouth later like the Rockies did.
Hey, I'm still recovering from the fact that our interim GM, that we're like, hey, at the end of the season, our interim GM's just going to be there for one season, then we're going to find somebody. Guess who we hired as our new GM?
The interim GM!
The interim GM, because change is a word we hate, apparently, and progress is a word we hate.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why that came to mind because I remember seeing you post about it, but a lot of this is very reminiscent to me of the Sherlock Holmes thing. Recently. That's like, okay, you're allowed to use Sherlock Holmes in public domain as long as the character does not do this, and this, and can't have these personality traits, and can't have this part of his life be apparent, because that part of the story is not public domain. It's just like, and I have a feeling that that's where we're going to go, and I hope it's not, because, I mean, Friday the 13th is already one of those series that has been kind of milked to death in the worst possible ways. I mean, say what you want about the Halloween series, but Friday the 13th has the worst sequels. And it's just tough.
I think
it's tough all the way around.
A new Friday, though, I think would make a lot of money because the last one was 2009. Mm-hmm. It's been that long. Like, it also depends on who's making it. Like I've said for a while, I would love Blumhouse to do it, but I could see other people, other studios going, okay, we need our own icon. Like Universal has the Universal Monsters, but they also technically have Michael because they own Blumhouse. Warner Brothers has Pennywise, and I think Pinhead, because I'm trying to remember. Clive Barker now got the rights back to Hellraiser, but I think since they're doing an HBO Max series, I think that's technically Warner Brothers. Like, it's horror is like divided between a whole bunch of different studios. So maybe somebody swoops in, Paramount swoops in or something. Yeah, because Paramount can afford anything right now.
Bro, no, how crazy would it be? Paramount presents Friday the 13th.
No. I got one. A24 presents Friday the 13th.
No, this series is weird enough. We don't need A24 to get involved.
Yeah, that'd be a little too trippy here.